If you were to ask anime fans what their favorite show is, chances are a good number of them would have one particular title in common: Full Metal Alchemist. Based on the shonen manga series penned and illustrated by Hiramu Arakawa, Fullmetal Alchemist is a captivating story about two young boys who practice alchemy, a type of science that allows them to create matter out of thin air. With its complex themes, rich world building, and fascinating philosophical references, the series has been labeled one of, if not the greatest, anime series of all time. Otakus, or weeaboos, take your pick, all over the world love to pay homage to the series, whether through creative fan art or online debate. On a side note, you should really check out some of the amazing fan art. I mean, whoever put bunny ears on the usually serious Edward should be rewarded with all the ramen they can eat. One plot point, though, does seem to be referenced quite a bit. A plot point that has bestowed endless amounts of pain and suffering upon thousands of unfortunate viewers worldwide. Brace yourselves, Fullmetal fans, because today, on Round the Clock Frights, we're going to be talking about the Nina Tucker storyline and how it could possibly be the most disturbing in all of anime. Now, let's hit the brakes for just a second, because I'm sure many of you are already typing out the names of other anime that supposedly have Fullmetal beat. If I were to guess, I'm sure some of you are throwing out titles like Tokyo Ghoul, Blood Sea, or When They Cry. Here's my first argument. While those series do contain life-ruining examples of violence and psychological trauma, a first-time viewer can go into those shows already knowing what to expect. Shows like Tokyo Ghoul were marketed as grisly and disturbing, so when viewers sat down and watched them for the first time, they already had an inkling of what was in store. With Fullmetal Alchemist, it's come to my understanding that many first-time viewers like myself were not expecting a show so traumatizing and heavily dramatic. To many of us, it seemed like a fun adventure series with some dark elements, but nothing like this. Of course, there were viewers who had read the manga beforehand and knew what was coming, but we'll get into that later. A little background: when I first watched Fullmetal Alchemist, I was not much of an anime fan at all. My girlfriend was actually the one who encouraged me to give more anime a chance, and of course, one of the first shows we watched together was Fullmetal Alchemist. Almost immediately, I was hooked. I became fully invested in the Elric brothers' quest to get the missing pieces of their physical bodies back. The first few episodes were fun and exciting, with these two characters going up against an array of villains and enemies, but nothing too dramatic, and I expected the rest of the series to follow suit. And then, my girlfriend kindly inserted episode 6 directly into my face. The plot of the episode is this: Ed and Al are preparing for an examination that could make or break them as state alchemists. They're instructed to spend some time with an alchemist named Shao Tucker, also known as the Sewing Life Alchemist. He's famous for creating intelligent chimeras, or spliced creatures that have the genetics of two different species. He comes across as kind and friendly, if a little withdrawn. Living with him is an adorable little girl named Nina, who takes an immediate liking to the brothers and begins to spend much time with them. The relationship between the three of them is utterly adorable and heartwarming. What could possibly go wrong? Hoo-hoo! Well, enter episode 7, where viewers' expectations were turned completely upside down. You see, Ed becomes questionable of Tucker and his abilities. A dead wife was mentioned in their initial conversation, which leads Ed to suspect that maybe there's more going on here than he first anticipated. Of course, Ed and Al do some investigating and stumble upon a most horrific discovery. It turns out Shao is a remorseless sociopath who used his wife to create the first successful chimera. Due to his sick desire to perfect his experiment, he decided to use a different subject the second time around: his own daughter and her dog. That's right, the cute, innocent little girl that we grew to love so fast is now this deformed monstrosity that can barely mutter words anymore. Allow me to show you a clip of most viewers' reactions. Holy shit. shit. Not only did this revelation feel like an atomic bomb to the face, it made us realize that this was not going to be a straightforward adventure series after all. The world of Fullmetal Alchemist was a dangerous, violent place where the most terrible things can happen to the most innocent characters. To have something so brutal happen to such a young child was just the icing on the cake. Not only that, she ends up getting murdered a couple scenes later. Which lends itself to my argument. This series dared to go against the taboo of not harming little children. Other anime have killed off little children as well, but the reason it's so effective here is because we truly weren't expecting it. How could we? Almost nothing in the first few episodes indicated that something so horrifying was in store. I compare it to Sean Bean's death in the first Game of Thrones season. It's the moment where viewers started taking the series more seriously. We realized that this was not going to be your run-of-the-mill fantasy. Anything could happen from this point on, and nobody, not even the main characters, were safe. But it wasn't just for shock value. Both Ed and Alphonse learn numerous lessons from their encounter with Shao Tucker. They're forced to grow up and start seeing the world for what it really is, a cruel, unforgiving place. Maybe that's another reason why I find this storyline to be the most disturbing in all of anime. As an adult, it really breaks my heart when young, spirited individuals are suddenly injected with a cruel dose of reality. It tosses them into a world they were not prepared to deal with. Obviously, there were viewers who had read the manga beforehand and knew all about Nina Tucker's fate, but even then, before reading the manga, did they anticipate something like this? It must have been a shock for them as well. There's a reason people get so worked up and emotional when this storyline is brought up. It truly disturbed them. These are the reasons I find the Nina Tucker storyline to be the most disturbing in all of anime. Since then, I myself have viewed a good number of anime, both good and, well, awful. But even to this day, just thinking about Nina and her gruesome fate sends shivers down my spine. Thank you so much for joining me in my discussion. Even if you don't agree with me, I would love to hear your thoughts on the Nina storyline as well. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, Round the Clock Frights, for more horrific content, and have a scary day, boils and ghouls.